Okay, so please state your name for our viewers.
My name is Brother Siddiqui Tahuti. I'm affiliated with Read or Die organization.
Okay, so what exactly is Read or Die?
What is Read or Die?
Yes.
Well, personally, I see Read or Die as a organization of individual scholars coming together for the purposes of putting information out to the public and in the sense of congregating this information and figuring out ways of how we can apply that. It's just a way of the streets, in a sense, coming together. I know a lot of times we feel when we talk about scholarship or lectures, people feel that, the colleges or the institutions lead in those areas. But what we're trying to do is just put that back into the streets, into the community, and see what the community is talking about, see the newfound information that may not necessarily be promoted in these colleges. Because a lot of times these colleges have agendas that they tell us about, they have certain curriculum that they have to go over. So we want to make sure that we're the research team with the interest of the people. So in a sense, Read or Die means that um, if we do not engage into information or scholarship and apply it to our lives, we're risking ourselves for particular genocides and so forth. So mental genocides, that is. So that's a little bit of what Read or Die is.
Okay, very good explanation of it. So for today, what we'll be discussing?
Well, for today's particular formal lecture or informal lecture is the historical origins of Christianity. And it's a very controversial topic due to the fact that preeminently we see a lot of Christians and Christianity faith is prominent in our culture. We see it in our laws. We see it in a lot of forms. So, for me personally, I decided to engage in what you would call a spiritual journey where I would investigate thoroughly and intensely, not limited by certain years, into particular books and to see other possible stories. I've always heard about these books of apocryphy who haven't been implemented in the Bible. I wanted to read those books. I wanted to see that those books date back with the books that are accepted now. I wanted to know why individuals felt to take those books out. And what happened is that I came across Walter Williams' book, The Historical Origins of Christianity. And actually, he's from Chicago, my home. And he basically put a historical perspective on how Christianity formulated. So I decided to, read that information and put it out to the public and YouTube, especially, just to see what the people thought about the information.
Okay, so can you expand a little bit more about what the
hmm
book entails, what it covers, what exactly he's discussing in the book, or
Well, I kind of laid out a format, and well, he basically does a research and a compilation of certain literatures, and he combines this as a form of logic, according to history. A lot of things that occur, we need to look at the history in a critical eye and analyze why these particular things happens, because we know that certain history books do have misinformation. So in his literature, he deems to correct the misinformation and give correct information. Um, you know, he begins off in his earlier chapters talking about that, first of all, that there is no historical data or biography in existence to substantiate the life of Jesus Christ. And there he's quoted the literature, the Dictionary of the Bible, by John L. McKenzie, and that's on page 432 that you'll find that. And then he goes on to say that even the writing of the life of Jesus has been a major problem of the New Testament scholarship, being that more than 100 years and plus. And he further says that there are numerous shifts of opinion here between scholars of the life of Jesus Christ. And what they state is that the reason for this is due to the lack of historical biography of that. So he says the only source of life and teachings of Jesus are the four Gospels. And what's so significant about Walter Williams' theory is that he's saying that outside of these four gospels, there is nothing that will substantiate the life of Jesus Christ except for those four gospels. Now, I know I've engaged in a lot of conversations with Christians, and they've talked about the 800 prophecies and so forth. And when I asked where this information comes from, a lot of times it directs me right back to the Bible. So the question comes, how can a book justify or prove itself in its own existence? So that's a little brief.
Okay, I just wanted to comment or piggyback off of something that you said, because you talked about, being about correcting, I guess, misinformation that is being put out.
Absolutely.
So I was just wondering, after reading this book and, reading about the book and getting the research from it, have you done any outside research to check up on Walter Williams' research or his evidence to make sure that he too is not one of those people producing and mass producing misinformation as well?
Well, yeah. In his particular argument, I found other literatures that substantiate that. When we look at Yosef Ben, or Dr. Ben, in other terms, he talks about early presences, or he talks about the non-existence of the J at a particular time. So, and Dr. Ben actually talks about how his name wasn't particularly Jesus, but Yahshua. So yeah, if I've investigated thus far, the thing is, I recently came across this information, so I've just been thoroughly investigating that and really picking out those particular things that he's saying, and then expanding upon other literatures that usually backed up. Like I was dealing with a Kersey Graves book, the 16 Crucified Saviors, and he doesn't necessarily take the same approach as Walter Williams. And that's what a lot of things I'm finding. You have some scholars who will present a different perspective. And here he's saying that we have previous other saviors or previous other virgin mothers, and saying that this would substantiate that, Jesus will be not only be the one only savior as we see in the particular Bible. So, yes, I have investigated on other information. You got Isis Unveiled by H.P. Blavatsky, and she expands more on how the religions are connected more so, and that's a perspective also coming from Walter Williams, because he talks about how Judaism and Islam are definitely cousins, if not brothers and sisters, to the religion of Christianity, in the sense that when we look at the two battles that occur between the two, was between the Diophysites and the Monophysites. So this particular battle that has been going on for approximately 921 years, and this soon branched into the Islam and the Christians being the Diophysites and the Muslims being the Monophysites. Now, the thing that substantiate these particular religions are the books. This shows how we practice and what we are, essentially. So I guess that would be a nice part one to it.
Okay, another question for you. Okay, so just to continue, I had another question for you. So just to clear things up and we can get really specific here, what exactly is the misinformation that Walter Williams discusses, corrects, or points out in the historical origins of Christianity? And then a two-part question is, what type of effect do you think that has on the face of Christianity for Christians and just people in general?
I think Walter Williams states that the misinformation in Christianity is the fact that the story is taken as historically accurate. And what he's saying is that it's not historically accurate because the books that only substantiate the life of Jesus Christ are the four Gospels. And the four Gospels are considered to be books of apocryphy, meaning authors of, we don't know necessarily who the authors are. And they're also considered to be historically inaccurate and not true accounts, because historically it's more of an objective necessarily not as subjective, you see. So, in a sense, it's by saying that, it means that history is that of investigation through accuracy. And he's saying that we can't simply say that through accuracy because this is the only book that substantiates it. Okay, and he's saying this is also the reason why of conflict between biblical scholars and scholars in general, due to that.
So is he basically making the stance or the claim because there is a lack of information, then we can, I guess, from that gather that these things are untrue? Doesn't that leave room to say we just don't know instead of saying that this is a false story just because we don't have that information to actually, you get what I'm saying?
Well, and you know, try,